welcome back, S'mores, to Beyond the Campfire. Um, and my voice is actually going to be really great for this because I feel like I sound very spooky and dark and mysterious. And if you don't know, I'm dying. No, I'm kidding. I just got probably a sinus infection. But, anyways, Steve, what you got for us today?
Yeah, welcome back, S'mores. We are talking about Houska Castle. It is a castle in the middle of the woods, about an hour north of Prague in the Czech Republic. And yeah, it dates back to the 13th century, and there's just a lot of weird stuff that happens over there. So we'll get into the history of it. We'll talk about some of the people that have visited it, the stories there, the paranormal activities that has happened there. And then at the end of the episode, if you've been listening to us for a while, we'll be doing another ChatGPT story about me and Will the Cowboy taking on Houska Castle.
I'm
So,
really excited for this ChatGPT story because I know we're going to be kicking some demon ass.
oh yeah,
Spoiler alert.
it is going to be a lot of fun. So, okay, Will. So yeah, as he was saying, we are Beyond the Campfire. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and X
Mm-hmm.
at Beyond Campfire or at Beyond Campfire Podcast. So be sure to connect with us there.
Yep.
Any questions before we dive right into?
No, I'm really excited. And don't worry, guys. We're going to be, I know I posted on our story yesterday that we're cooking in the kitchen. So be tuned to see what happens there. We've had a bunch of business meetings, so everything's going to, going to be better from here on out. A lot healthier too.
All right, no, good stuff, good stuff. So, okay, well, let's get into it. Houska Castle. So, Houska Castle was constructed roughly in the 13th century. Estimates believe is somewhere between 1253 and 1278 by the order of King Ottokar II of Bohemia. And the castle is weird, and not necessarily in like the ghost type of way, although we will get to that in a second. But it's not close to any major trade routes. It's not close to any sources of water. It doesn't have a kitchen. It has fake windows, and there's no living quarters in it at all.
Interesting.
Again, is weird because usually when you have castles, they're placed in a strategic position. You usually want some sources of water. You want it to
No.
kind of up on a hill to where if people trying to invade it, you can protect
Mm-hmm.
it. Usually, you don't plan to just have a castle just kind of be there. You usually want people to stay there long term, and so again, you'll have some kind of bedrooms or kitchen or things like that.
Yeah.
Things are things that Houska Castle does not have. So from the jump, it is a weird castle.
Mm. It does sound very weird. Now, I don't think you mentioned it because I don't know if you're going to mention. Are you going to get into the defenses yet? Because I think people say the defenses are on the inside, not the outside.
I didn't do too much research of that. Like, I mean, it's just well,
Yeah, I
I
think I read somewhere that like
will go
the
ahead.
yeah, the defenses are kind of like inside the castle. They're not outside the castle.
Yeah, which again, what I was going to mention is the reason people think it's built the way it is because it wasn't really necessarily protecting a king or anything. It was really built to keep something inside of
Yep.
it. So the origin of the castle. Why was it built here? Why was it built at all? We don't really actually know 100% for sure. However, based on how the building is designed, it does appear that it was trying to keep something in, maybe
Right.
prisoners, maybe some kind of paranormal creatures. Because other than that, I mean, like I said, this is a weird place to build a castle.
Yeah.
It's also a weird place to not put anything else inside of it. So,
Yeah.
any questions, thoughts, or comments so far before I get into the legends of why it was built?
No. I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, it does raise questions of if you're building a castle, usually you build it like you said to defend for strategic positions. Water, trade routes, whatever. And usually you're gonna have men stationed there, so it does make you wonder why do they build it this way.
Right. And yeah, it's really just gets into the legend. So we don't really know too much from that time period. However, the Czech Chronicle published a story many decades ago talking about some legends that they had kind of collected from some of the locals and things like that that had been passed down.
Yeah.
So, Houska Castle is rumored, we don't know for sure, but it's rumored to be built on top of a pit. Before the castle was there, so the legends say, there was this pit that a town of villagers found while they were walking in the woods. And, you see a pit, you want to know how deep it is. So some of the men picked up some stones, threw it into the pit. They never heard the stone hit the bottom.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now we've talked about a lot of pits before, the Devil's Hole and just kind of other things, but this is where things get weird for the people in this area. So, they're like, okay, weird bottomless pit. Slowly as time moves on, though, whenever people would kind of walk in that area where the pit was, many people started to report seeing creatures, black creatures that were winged, that looked almost human, but not human, glowing red eyes, and many did report hearing screaming and ghostly shrills and screeches at night.
Oh boy. Mm-mm. I would pack up. I would move across the continent, across the country. I'd move to America. I get as far away as I could.
What's even worse is that, if that wasn't creepy enough, young children started to go missing from the village. And so, this is where people started to wonder, hey, what exactly is in that pit? Is something coming out of there and taking our kids away?
Sacrificing children.
So the Duke, kind of one of the dukes at that time, decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to protect our village. I'm going to protect our kids. We're going to figure out what's at the bottom of this pit. So he got an idea. Well, we have a group of men that are scheduled for execution. He said, what if I promise these men, hey, if you can get into this giant bucket that we make, we lower you down into the pit, you kind of report what you see, we take you back out, and you get out, we'll pardon you. No more death row, no more being in prison for life. You can get out.
Not a bad idea. You know,
So
not a bad deal.
most prisoners didn't take up the offer. There was, however, one man. He was in his early 20s, very young, very handsome. Apparently, all the ladies liked him or something like that. So, all the all the women simping over Ted Bundy and who is that guy last December? Luigi
Yeah,
Mangione.
Luigi Montel or something like that.
Yeah. So for all you true crime girlies out there that
Yeah,
simping over Ted Bundy and Luigi Mangione and all these serial killers,
you
apparently
need better taste in men.
apparently that's nothing new. So
Nope, they've been doing that for thousands of years.
yeah.
People simped after Cain. He had a little fangirl posse. I'm kidding. I don't know that. That'd actually be really funny if he did.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh, it's the first murderer. Sign my tits.
Like, golly.
Spam.
But quick side note before I continue the story. But yeah, they say women have a motherly nature, and some of the more deluded ones think that like there's this fantasy of, oh, I can fix him, and so they
Oh God, not
they
this.
they, they like the murderers because one, the murderers can protect them, right? They can kill people for them. But two, there's something dark and edgy about it. But they're like, oh, I'll be the one that he'll become good for or whatever.
Red flags. Them are red flag women right there.
So this guy, he's young, handsome, in his 20s, and he gets charged for murder, and he's going to be put away for basically the rest of his life. And so he's like, hey, I'm in my 20s. I have the rest of my life ahead of me. Sure, why not? I
Mm-hmm.
spent a few minutes in this pit, and I get to have my life back, right? So
Yeah.
so they put him in the bucket, they lower him under, and they call out to him and ask him to speak back up. They hear nothing. So odd.
Yikes.
Okay, well, maybe he's gotten so low that he's beyond speaking. So they're kind of yelling down at him again. They're like, "Hey, say something. Are you okay? What do you see?" The people around the hole all of a sudden started to hear blood curdling screaming from the man. He's just
Yikes.
shouting bloody murder, saying, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here!" He's like, "They're getting me. They're coming after me." It's like, what? So they very quickly pull up the ropes. They get him out, and he's alive. However, he looks 30 years older. Looks like he's in his mid 50s now. His hair has turned white, and he's gone insane. Every time they try to ask him about what he saw down there, he can't speak.
Yikes.
He just mutters it, and he ends up actually dying a few days later.
Yikes. That's scary, man.
The Duke, not one to, you know, give up, starts to put other prisoners down there against their will. None of them want to do it after hearing what happens, and the same result happens for all of them. They have aged significantly. Their hair is white. And after a while, the Duke gives up, and he's just like, "There's something evil in this pit. I don't know what it is." But eventually, according to legend, one of his descendants, King Ottokar II of Bohemia, which is what the Czech Republic used to be called, was
Yeah.
Bohemia,
Yeah.
is the one who eventually decides to build this castle to contain the evil that is within.
Mm.
So that's the origins.
Yeah.
And I do want to say this. We did an episode on Bohemian Grove, which is in California, right? I kind of
Yep.
find it interesting that the Czech Republic used to be called Bohemia, and we have this place in the U.S. called Bohemian Grove, and weird stuff happens there too. So,
Yeah. Freaky stuff.
all right, I got 3 more stories after this one, and then we'll get into the ChatGPT story. So, any questions before I get into the 3 stories?
Well, are you gonna reveal what people think the hole really was, or are you gonna?
Have I not said that people think it's a gateway to hell?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, if I didn't say it already, people believe it's a gateway to hell. They believe that the winged creatures and things that have been reported around there are demons slipping out of hell and coming into our world. So,
Hmm?
yeah, that would explain it. This does
Yeah.
connect to. We haven't done an episode on this, but it does connect to the ley line theory. So,
Mm.
if you've heard of ley lines, LEY, me and Will have talked about it on the show before. Ley lines are lines that travel all over the earth that connect weird sites to each other. Things like the Ram's Inn in England, which me and Will have done an episode on. And at each of these places, it's reported that the
Yeah.
there's portals to hell or the spiritual realm or time
Mhm.
traveling or just something weird like that.
Yeah. So the way you can kind of think about, ley lines and stuff is like how we got like a power grid, right? These power lines that run all over the world and carry power, and then they're like at these power plants where all the lines kind of converge. You've got all this power coming, right? Same theory applies with ley lines. A building can lay on a ley line, but at an intersection of a ley line, the power, the spiritual energy is so strong that it can open up portals.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So alrighty. So ley lines. Some people have associated the Houska Castle with ley lines, and yeah. Without further ado, let's get into more of the history. So this castle's built, and people just really aren't staying there. You do have a chapel that is built, so that the lowest level of the castle is a chapel. And using
Right.
a chapel, you do expect to see a lot of religious iconography. Paintings of Jesus' resurrection, paintings of the Archangel Michael, and those things are there.
Mm,
Here's the weird part. There's some weird drawings there too. So
okay.
Michael is usually portrayed very heroically, like stomping on a demon or something. In this castle, he is portrayed weighing souls on a scale. So,
Interesting.
it's a little weird. But also, there are very disturbing images of demons and monsters and creatures that are built into the murals of the chapel as well,
Interesting.
which is weird because churches
Yeah.
have that. Usually you're trying to draw attention, people's mind to God and His holiness and His radiance. Here, the images seem to be pointing that something evil is here underneath this place, and you need to be warned about that. That's the theory of why the church has some of those things. One thing that is weird that even though it's very dry in this forest in Prague, the walls in the chapel are always damp for some reason, and they can't really explain why that is, but
That's really weird.
they just stay wet for whatever reason. Some of the reported apparitions that have been seen in the castle are a bullfrog human hybrid, a headless horseman, a white robed woman without a face, and shadowy figures, some with wings, lurking through the halls.
Interesting.
So, yeah, a lot of weird stuff.
That
So,
is.
the place basically remains empty for about 3 centuries. It's built in the 13th century. And then as time goes on, it is kind of just abandoned. In the 1700s, though, a particular guy moves in.
Ooh.
To talk about Mr. Aranto. So
Please do
Aranto
me.
was an occult leader who practiced in the dark and mystical art.
Here we go.
And Aranto moves into the castle and
Idiot.
begins doing sacrifices, animal sacrifices. And he says he senses the dark energy within this castle. He senses the demons and the spirits that are coming out of the gateway to hell. And he said, "This is a great way for me to access this power and to use the powers of these ghosts and demons that I may be able to get my magic arts and powers out of it."
How stupid. You know? It's like, you let me guess. There's something happened to this guy. Because you play stupid games, you're gonna win stupid prizes. So why don't you tell the folks what he won? And it's not a brand new car.
Well, I mean, he did die in a mystical way. At least, I don't know if you've heard a different way, but however, the local town people do not like that this castle is being used again. They don't like that Oronto is doing weird stuff in there, and so eventually they put a bounty on him. 100 gold coins. He said if someone can kill Oronto, we can leave the castle alone again. So they eventually, two hunters decide that they'll be brave enough and that they're going to do it. Now, Aranto, he's not dumb. He knows that something's about to happen, so he starts to cast all
No.
spells, things
Yeah.
like that. However, one night as he's sitting by his window, the hunters look up, see Aranto, they draw their bows, they fire, and they kill him.
Oh.
What did you hear?
No, I didn't hear anything. I just felt like the demons were gonna kill him or something.
No, yeah.
Dang.
I guess the demons. So actually,
That was
Aranto,
stupid surprise.
who, basically every person that's walked into that building has experienced something paranormal. I guess Aranto was cool with the demons or whatever. So, he was okay. He was
We're bringing it back. He was partying it up with the disco demons.
right. He
They
was
were having a party.
disco dancing with the demons in Houska Castle.
Dude, like that. That's weird, man. Imagine being so tight with demons, and they're like, we're not gonna kill him. He's our homie.
Right,
Like,
right.
no, like that's just weird, man. Why you gotta go? But I guess that is kind of a stupid prize he won. It's not the prize I wanted him to win, or I thought he'd win, but he got a prize. It's not a
Yeah,
new car.
when he said the thing the way you did, I'm like, I think you're gonna be disappointed. But um,
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was like expecting either a demon to drag him down to the pit, or for like one of his spells to go wrong and like he blows himself up.
sure, sure. All right. Well, after Oronto's death, legends report though that his ghost continues to haunt the castle to this day, and so several people have reported seeing Oronto dressed in his cultic robes and casting spells. People have said that he has stared angrily at them, as if he's jealous that they're alive and he is not. And Oronto just continues to be a force in this castle to the present day. So
Yeah, man, Aranto, don't be upset, man. Now you can high five your homies.
I guess.
You know, you can
got two more.
actually see them all the time.
I got two more stories, and then we'll do our ChatGPT story.
Okay.
So Ronto dies. The castle remains vacant for about another 100 years. And then, about 100 years later, in the year 1836, a poet named Karol Macha is traveling through the woods of Prague, and he gets very tired. He sees this castle, and he says, hey, this is a good place to stop for the night. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to spend one night in this castle. This is going to go great. He goes into the castle and immediately just feels a sense of dread that like the world is coming to an end, that
Yeah.
something watching him, that something wants to drag him and his mind into the abyss.
Yeah.
But he dismisses the thoughts. He's like, I'm just being paranoid. He cleans out the castle. He finds a room. As he enters into the courtyard, though, something catches his eye. He sees a flapping of wings. It's like, that's weird. It's big, it's black, and he's like, man, maybe it's a raven, maybe it's a crow, maybe it's a bat.
Yeah.
But then the winged creature flies by him again. He's like, nah, that's not a bat. This thing is way too big.
Mm.
All of a sudden, throughout the night, as he's cleaning, as he's kind of making a bed for himself and getting ready to spend the night, he reports seeing several winged creatures with glowing red eyes watching him as he works. He reports feeling chills. Some rooms are colder than others. He's
Uh,
not going to stay in one of the cold rooms. He says he hears voices whispering to the walls, some sounding as if they were screeches from the pits of hell, crying out in pain and asking him to save them.
get the heck out of there, dude.
So Carol Macha is afraid, right? He's like, okay,
Well, who wouldn't be?
this is weird, but he's like, you know what? I'm still gonna stay here. I'm just gonna find a quiet room, and not one of the weird rooms, not one of the cold rooms, just a nice warm room, and it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be okay. He goes to sleep, constantly wakes up. He hears just scratching on doors, screeching, just his own sense of dread. This is where things get interesting. He says all of a sudden he had a vision to where he travels to about 200 or about 180 years in the future to 2006. So he's living in 1836. He sees a vision of 2006.
Mm.
He says what he sees is a very vast industrialized city of Prague. What he says is there is eerie yellow lights everywhere, presumably street lights.
Yeah.
He says he runs into a girl who brings him into her home, and he said she shows him a series of moving pictures inside of a large box
Mm.
TV.
TV.
What's weird is he writes all of this 180 years before 2006. It's seemingly a pretty accurate depiction of the future. So some
That's
people are
weird, man.
like, it's just a coincidence. But others say it's possible that Carol Macha actually did see a vision of the future that night in Houska Castle.
Mm. It sounds like it.
The next morning, he wakes up, he leaves Houska Castle, he travels to the next town, he writes a story, and a few days later, he dies under mysterious circumstances.
Oh my word!
So, yeah, there you go. There's Carol Macha. There's his vision of the
He got
future,
out.
his experience with Houska Castle.
Should have ran, dude. Should have got out of there.
Sure. All right, I got one more story for us.
Okay.
And then we'll get into our Chat GPT story.
What's funny is I think I know this story, or at least I know who the main characters are in this story.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'll see.
Does his name rhyme with Schittler?
It sure does, my friend. So, 100 years later, a little less, but
Yeah.
a certain power rises in Germany. So remember, Carol Macho was in 1836. 100 years later is the 1930s. Guess which country came to power in the 1930s?
Germany.
Germany, right? So the Nazis, as they are invading Prague and as they're invading the Czech Republic, they're going through the woods and they find this castle and they're like, hey, let's take this place over, man. Let's use it and we can do experiments and a lot of other things. The sad thing is the files have been destroyed on what the Nazis did there, so we don't know exactly what they did there. However, evidence seems to be pretty good that they were
Yeah.
doing occultic experiments, so possibly sacrificing animals, interacting with demons, anything to kind of just get some kind of power to help make the Third Reich even more powerful.
Mm.
Eventually, though, uh, the Nazis reported weird things there too. They reported seeing ghosts running through the halls. Some of them mentioned Aranto, right? Aranto appears again. So
Yeah.
Aranto. They said again, this is a common theme, but they report seeing the winged creatures flying around, the screeches in the hall, the glowing lights just flowing around the castle, and none of that scared them away. They just said, "Hey, we're just gonna keep doing Nazi things here in our now Nazi castle that we decided to take over." So,
We're not making a hat that says just Nazi things, okay, guys?
right.
I
Hopefully,
get
this
it.
doesn't get us banned from YouTube.
Shouldn't.
Anyway, so eventually, communists take over the castle, and the castle kind of just remains vacant for a few decades until the 90s when capitalism
Yeah, I love it.
rears its head, and they're like, the government of the Czech Republic's like, you know what would be cool if we made this a tourist attraction. So
Yikes! Yikes!
they get Houska Castle. They start selling tickets. You can go there today. You know, they're I think they're open from like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can you
Well,
can go.
Steve and I, we're staying past 5 p.m.
There you go. You can go in and get a ticket, and you can walk around Houska Castle and the Archangel Michael holding his scales and weighing human souls and all that.
And maybe we'll run into a wizard.
Yeah. Did the ghostly activities stop? And
No.
the answer is they have not.
Figured.
To this day, people report seeing weird stuff in Houska Castle, if they even make it inside the castle. So what's happened is a lot of people, they buy tickets for the tour, and as soon as they step into the castle, they get this overwhelming feeling of dread and this voice in their head saying run, and then they don't do it. They don't do the tour of the castle.
Well, guess what, guys? Mama didn't raise a bitch. Us two, we going in there. We're going to figure this out. Steve might come home with a girlfriend. Who knows?
So for those that did go in the castle, though, they again same things: cold rooms, flashes of light, hearing screeching and screaming sounds. Aranto again has been reported being seen in the castle. So paranormal stuff is persisting to this day. If you go to Houska Castle to this day, you're just gonna get all this weird stuff happening, right? So
Terrifying, dude. But you know what? Steve and I, we're brave little toasters. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna gonna get Steven a girlfriend, and we're gonna come home with some really cool T-shirts that say "I survived a night in Houska Castle."
There you go. A Czechian, Czech Republic. Are they called Czechians? What?
I don't know. We're gonna
Okay,
check you in into that
we'll find.
castle.
We'll find me a Czechian girlfriend, I suppose, or something.
Well, no, I was talking about I know how you like the undead women.
All right.
So that lady in white, she might show you a little ankle. Like, hey,
Just
Steven.
I have one innocent thought, and then it's not innocent the way I thought it was.
Steven's
So.
like, I'm going home with a check-in girl, and I'm like, no, you're going home with a ghost. And then she's gonna hear about all your other flings, and she's gonna be like, "Do I mean nothing to you? I'm going back to the castle."
Oh
We
boy.
have pictures. I would do the voice, but I can't. Steven shows up there hoping to get a girlfriend, and like a demon comes up, Satan comes up to him and goes, "Steven, your girl is in another castle."
Alrighty. So with
I'm gonna do a total voice,
all
but
that in mind, any thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns before we dive into the ChatGPT story?
no. But it sounds like we need to book our plane tickets.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, all right, here we go. Will and Stephen at Houska Castle, a Beyond the Campfire adventure. The bus sighed to a stop in a corridor of dark firs. Ahead, Houska Castle rose like a great tooth in the forest. Windowless stone, a chapel where a keep should be. No moat, no kitchens, no commons. It looked less like a home and more like a lid. Not much for hospitality, Will said, tipping his hat. Inside, dozens of tourists formed a polite cluster around lost my place. Around a small Czech woman with a shawl and a scholar's smile. Houska, the Czech guide began, was raised under King Otakar II in the 13th century, but it was never meant to defend men. She gestured down the nave. It was meant to defend against something else. Will leaned over to Stephen. You should ask her out, brother. Stephen shook his head. We're here on a mission, remember? Will nodded. Yeah, if the rumors are true, the beast that's been dwelling around this place the last few days is probably still here. Stephen nodded. Well, let's hope we get it before it gets us. The tour guide led them deeper into the chapel, where candles trembled through, though no draught moved. Frescoes crowded the walls. Saint Michael weighing souls, yes, but also a left-handed archer centaur and strange beasts, out of place in the sacred art. Stephen stared intently at the fresco of Saint Michael. Still can't believe we met that guy. Will nodded. Yeah, he helped us defeat Hitler, of all people.
There it is. There it is. Coming back.
The tour guide continued. The old stories tell of a pit here, she said quietly. A pit that leads straight into the depths of hell. Stephen and Will looked at each other. You think something as big as what's been reported could come out of that? Stephen nodded. Oh yeah, for sure. The guide's voice started to fade behind them, as if it were being pulled down a long tunnel. Suddenly, the candles hissed. Stone shivered. Then, the world bent. The tourist cluster vanished. Red and black banners unfurled from the balcony. Soldiers in gray stepped from the alcoves, faces half in shadow. The chapel looked newly built, polished stone, a black lectern, the scent of ozone and incense. Stephen? Will said. Don't tell me we just time traveled yet again.
I hate time travel, man.
Stephen smiled softly. Just like that poet a couple centuries ago. Carol Matcha. Matcha, who now? Said Will. Stephen nodded. Never mind. If this is a time period I think we're in, then I have a bad feeling that we're about to run into. All of a sudden, they saw him. Standing at the altar was Adolf Hitler.
Rematch, mother.
Stephen's breath caught in his throat. No, no way. This can't be happening. Hitler's eyes were small, precise, appraising. We sincere Herr gekommen. What? Will said. Speak English, dang it. Hitler's eyes narrowed. You dare speak to the Führer this way, cowboy? Anyway, who allows strangers to enter into my sanctum? I don't know how we got here, Stephen said, studying himself. Oh, well, were you about to say something?
No, I'm just like,
Mm-hmm. I don't know how we got here, Stephen said, but I can't believe I'm seeing you again. Hitler tilted his head, confused. Again? You know me?
Yeah, just wait till 2024, buddy.
Before Stephen could answer, Will stepped forward, thumbs brushing his holsters, smiling. We kick your butt in the future, he laughs. Hitler looked at Will again, intently. You need to learn this some respect, cowboy. Then Hitler laughed. He said, If we fought before, then history will oblige us twice. He reached out behind him, pulling out a small book and a lectern. The book was bound in cracked black leather, its cover scribed with a ring of runes around a coiled dragon. You stand in Houska, a fortress above the gate, he said. Uh, sorry, I keep losing my place.
You're good.
Okay. I have studied this pit. I have drunk from its darkness. Others came before me, an alchemist, Oronto. But I have what Oronto lacked, a nation to harness the abyss. He opened the book. Runes flared scarlet. Through the seal of Oronto and the will of the Reich, Hitler intoned in German and Latin, Rise, rise, my children, rise.
Oh boy.
The floor split open. A cold wind roared out of the blackness.
Oh no.
Skeletal hands punched up through the cracks. Then wrist, arms, rotting uniforms, iron helmets. One after another, they hauled themselves into the chapel, dead eyes burning, mouths moving in a chant that was all consonants and hunger. Stephen and Will stared. Stephen muttered, You know, I fought Nazi zombies in Call of Duty, but I never thought I'd be doing that in real life. Will cocked a grin and drew both revolvers. Good news, partner. No responder this time. They charged. Will drew his pistols, barking thunder, firing shot after shot, bullets hitting skulls, spines, and kneecaps. Stephen rolled around and drew three swords off a holster on the wall. He held two swords in his hand, one clamped beneath his teeth, slicing through the undead ranks. Call me Roran Azora tonight, he said, his eyes bright. He spun low, cutting through zombies with slash after slash. Will turned and stared at him. Is that some anime BS? Stephen laughed. Yeah, it is.
Oh boy.
Will rolled his eyes. This is why you're single. Shut up, Stephen said. The pair continued to fight. Will shooting off bullet after bullet. Stephen slashing zombies, shouting, Three sword style, 1,000-pound phoenix. Their attacks ripped through the zombies. Helmets split, arms fell. Their chants turned into streaks. But then, the pit shuddered again. A gale of sulfur and smoke erupted, and out of the abyss flew out winged demons, gaunt bodies charred to the bone, wings shredded like bat leather, eyes burning white. Their their eyes glowing with unholy fire. Seriously, demons too? Will shouted. Let's see. Stephen parried a claw strike, cutting the creature in half with a blur of swords. He spat the blade from his mouth just long enough to grin. Hey, at least this confirms we're not just fighting Nazis on easy mode. They fought shoulder to shoulder, Will blasting anything that flew too close, Stephen carving through corpses below. Wings tore, claws snapped, bodies crumpled. The chapel filled with smoke and sulfur until the last demon shrieked and scattered into the pit. Hitler hadn't moved. The book bled light. Hitler smiled. Impressive, but you are still boys with toys.
All
He
right.
turned a page and whispered, I summon the Dark Lord of the Occult, the master of the mystical arts. Aranto, arise! The pit erupted. Heat and wind blasted from the pit. Out of the abyss surged a giant black dragon. Its rider, the ghostly Aranto,
Mm.
skin flashing a ghostly green, smoke puffing from his side. Aranto, the alchemist, had arrived. Hitler ran out of the castle, shouting, See you in the future, or hell, cowboy and Indian.
I hate
Stephen
that
and
guy.
Stephen and Will turned to chase after Hitler, but before they could, the dragon blocked the exit. Aranto got off the dragon and confronted the duo. Death could not bind me, Aranto said, voice layered with echoes. I drank from the forbidden walls. I uncorked the night. I turned a grave into a throne. Bow before the master of death, the one who escaped the grave. I, Aranto. Stephen strode forward, swords lowering. You turned your pride into a chain. Aranto's smile was knife thin. And yet here I ride with Leviathan, and men tremble. The dragon lunged. Will's bullet sparked harmlessly off the scales. Stephen slashed at the wing membrane. The beast screamed, but the wound sealed. The dragon reared and snapped, forcing them back. Not working, Will panted. Stephen's eyes flicked up. Above the altar, the fresco of the Archangel Michael gazed down at him, sword raised. Suddenly, Stephen's memory surged, back to the night when he and Will had first fought Cyborg Hitler, and the time they had encountered the Archangel himself. Stephen dropped to his knees. Lord Jesus, he cried, help us. The air trembled. Will's revolvers glowed, barrels veined with holy light. Aranto laughed. Tricks! Always tricks! Will raised his sights. You said death could not defeat you. Will steadied his breath. But there's only one man who beat death, and that's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Amen, brother.
He thumbed the hammer. Go back to hell, Aranto. He fired. Aranto screamed in pain. This can't be happening. Bullets don't work on me. The bullet streaked like a comet, tearing through Aranto's chest. Stephen looked up, staring Aranto dead in the eye. That's the power of prayer, Aranto. Our Lord is way powerful than any of your dark arts. Aranto screamed in pain, running towards his dragon. The beast itself shrieked as its scales split with holy fire. Aranto screamed as both ghost and dragon were pulled into the abyss, gone. Stephen and Will got up, panting and in pain. Will holstered his pistols. We just fought Hitler, not Nazi zombies, demons, and a dragon. And everyone here thinks we're on a sightseeing tour. The crazy thing is, this isn't even the first time we fought that mother effer. Stephen laughed and said, "Story of our lives, brother." They walked down the steps, gravel crunching. Stephen glanced back at the chapel. "Think this pit's really sealed?" "For today," Will said, tipping his hat. "But even if it isn't, we'll be back. I don't care how many times we have to kick Hitler's ass. That guy is not coming back to haunt the living ever again."
Amen.
They stepped into the bright bohemian afternoon. Evil had stirred, pride had boasted, but prayer had answered, and grace had now issued. The end.
Look at that. All right, then. That was Houska Castle. You think it's haunted?
I think so, man. There's just too many stories across several centuries
Mm-hmm.
from so many witnesses, and I look at that and I'm like, something's there. Something weird is there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely strange.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if it's a pit to hell, but I do think it's demonic. I do think demons do dwell there. And yeah, man, it's weird stuff. Weird,
yeah,
weird.
there eventually will be another. Well, I don't think we'll really cover it on like a big podcast episode, but we might cover it on like a Patreon episode. Another pit to hell. There's not a lot that goes with it, so that's why I don't think it's really episode worthy.
Sure.
But yeah, guys, we got a lot coming, a lot cooking. Be on the lookout. Yeah, we're ready to lock in. We're gonna get you guys some great content. Have a great time with it. And yeah, if you like what we're doing, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, I don't know. I think you can like us on Spotify. Give us some 5-star reviews, unless you want to give us a 1-star. But then we'll track you down. I'm kidding. But yeah, make sure you follow us on everywhere you get a podcast. We're out every week, and yeah, we got no intention of stopping, guys. So be on the lookout for all that great content. And yeah, don't fall in the hole.